Did Jesus actually exist? I found the truth and it's mind-blowing. In this video, we're uncovering secrets that were buried by the church for 1,600 years, and we're gonna hear secrets from 33rd degree Freemasons that your pastor prays you never find out about. See, what if I told you Christianity started as a secret society? Yeah, I'm dead serious. The church fathers themselves literally admit it. I'm talking initiations, rituals, and forbidden teachings that only the inner circle ever got to hear. And Jesus himself in the actual Bible reveals there was secret information he never told the public, but today we're cracking it wide open. We're gonna reveal why early church fathers hid the secret teachings of Jesus, how the early Christians were basically occult initiates, and the real meaning of Christ, spoiler, it's not a last name, and the truth about whether Jesus actually existed. And we're gonna expose the true meaning of the second coming, and it's not what you think. And most importantly, why the church erased the part of the story that's all about you. This is not just history, this is your very identity. This is the secret not only of if Jesus actually existed, but of who you really are and what this whole life thing is actually about. So get ready, because what you're about to hear is gonna burn down everything you thought you knew about Jesus. And the truth is, he would have been the first one handing you the match, and I have the verses to prove it. My name is Morgue, I'm an ex-Christian blowing the lid off hidden knowledge to wake the world the hell up, and today we're exposing the truth about who Jesus really is and how it reveals a secret about who you really are. This is the secret Jesus was actually trying to tell you before the church crucified the truth and turned it into a control system. And if we're talking secrets, we're better to start than with secret societies, because guess what? Christianity didn't begin as a friendly little religion for fishermen and shepherds. It started as a secret society, and that's not conspiracy theory, that's the church's own admission. We're gonna get to that, but first, let's bring in someone named J.D. Buck, who is a 33rd degree Freemason, not a TikTok atheist, not some edgy Reddit guy. The 33rd degree is the highest level you can reach. Presidents, generals, world leaders, revolutionaries, people who shaped empires have been 33rd degree Masons. And over 100 years ago, he said this: "Is Christianity all a fable, put forth and kept alive by designing men to support their pretensions to authority? Is that which has inspired the hope and brightened the lives of the downtrodden and despairing for ages a mere fancy, a designing lie?" Okay, this isn't some hot take on Twitter. This is coming from someone at the top of a global network built around ancient wisdom. And he's asking, is the whole thing a con, a designed lie? And by the end of this video, we're gonna answer that very question. And the answer isn't just gonna change how you see Jesus, it's gonna change how you see yourself. Because what you're watching is a mission to expose hidden knowledge and wake the world up, and now you are a part of that mission. So was Jesus of Nazareth actually real? You know, the guy who walked on water, fed a crowd with a fish sandwich, and pulled the ultimate escape act after being crucified? Well, think about this. If you ask, what evidence do we have outside the Bible, you get crickets. Now think about it. If he really caused chaos at major festivals, healed lepers, and got executed by Rome, where are the non-biblical records? Guess what? They're basically non-existent. And what does exist, honestly, is kinda sus. Josephus mentions Jesus, but most scholars agree that that section was probably tampered with, a Christian forgery to embellish it. Then Tacitus said that Nero blamed Christians for the Great Fire, which sounds useful until you realize he's just repeating what Christians believed at the time. Zero proof that Jesus actually existed. Then we have Pliny the Younger, who wrote about Christians worshiping Christ like a god, which is nice, but again, it confirms what a group of people believed, not reality. The bottom line is that the Gospels make Jesus sound like the most famous guy of the ancient world, but outside the Bible, he's kind of a ghost. So what the hell does this mean? Now let me be clear right now, I'm not saying that Jesus never existed. I'm not claiming he was invented out of thin air like some biblical Bigfoot. Most serious historians actually agree that there was probably a guy named Jesus, but they also agree that much of what's recorded in the Gospels is myth added to elevate him beyond the historical figure. Think about it. Most of what we know comes from the New Testament documents written by Jesus's followers, or followers of followers, who had an agenda. I mean, let's face it, they're trying to win you over to belief, not hand you neutral facts. And they were written decades after the events, in a time of myth and miracle stories galore. So here's what I'm saying. Did he walk on water, turn water into wine, raise the dead, literally get up and walk out of a tomb like a horror movie messiah? I mean, come on. Let me give you just one example of why that's absurd. Ready? In the book of Matthew, it says, and I'm not kidding here, that when Jesus died, the tombs broke open and the bodies of many holy people who had died were raised to life. They came out of the tombs after Jesus' resurrection and went into the holy city and appeared to many people. Okay, hold on here. The dead started walking around Jerusalem like a biblical zombie apocalypse, and nobody wrote about it? Think about that. This would have been the most insane supernatural event in human history. Dead people, actual dead people getting up and walking around the town. And yet it's only mentioned in one place, in one gospel. Just one! Apparently, no one else, not even the other gospel writers, thought it was worth jotting down. What the hell?
So I put in a zombie outbreak.
Bro, that's too weird, even for us.
What if it's because the entire point of the story was never about the man Jesus to begin with? Well, so what was the point? Well, we're about to expose how early Christianity had secret teachings, hidden levels, and a version of Jesus' message you were never supposed to hear. And this hidden version of Jesus doesn't just change how you see him, it changes how you see yourself. Okay, so let's zoom out for a second. Regardless of whether Jesus existed or not, something exploded out of the ancient world in the first few centuries after his supposed death. Christianity went viral, Roman Empire style. But here's the million-dollar question. What the hell were they actually teaching? Was it just the same stuff that your church preaches today? You know, believe in Jesus, get baptized, eat crackers, and wait for rapture? Or was there a hidden side to Christianity, a deeper, more dangerous teaching that most people never even got to hear? See, in the earliest centuries, Christianity had a kind of two-level system. The public teachings for everyone, and then the secret teachings for the few. So let's bring back in the 33rd degree Freemason. Remember him, J.D. Buck? And this is the key to the whole thing. Buck writes, in modern Freemasonry, in the ancient mysteries, and in all of the great religions, there was always an exoteric, public portion given out to the world, to the uninitiated, and an esoteric, secret portion reserved for the initiate and revealed by degrees. Okay, so let's stop right there. Exoteric equals public. That's the stuff they want you to see. The bedtime stories, the stained glass, the redacted version of spirituality. And who is it given to? The uninitiated. That's most people. You, me, everyone sitting in a pew thinking they're getting the whole truth. But esoteric equals secret. And those are the real teachings, and they weren't handed out like candy. You had to prove yourself, pass tests, keep secrets, and only then were you shown the deeper hidden layers.
Which door do I go through? Exoteric or esoteric?
Depends. Do you like crackers or forbidden knowledge?
But then Buck drops this bombshell. Few professed Christians are perhaps aware that such was the case with Christianity during the first 2 or 3 centuries. Yeah, Buck is saying that early Christianity worked just like this, just like Freemasonry and other secret societies, but that hardly any Christians know about it. Most of them just quote a few Bible verses, maybe mention a VeggieTales episode, and call it a day.
What's behind the door that says top secret teachings?
VeggieTales. Nothing but VeggieTales.
But Buck is flat out telling you Christianity had secret teachings handed down by degrees. Now look, I get it. We just dropped a quote from a 33rd degree Freemason saying that early Christianity had secret teachings, and you might be thinking, well, how the hell do we know he's not lying? Which is a good question. He was part of a system known for secrecy after all. So it's good to think critically. We need a lot more of that. Okay, cool. So let's put the Freemasons aside for a second and go straight to the church fathers themselves, because what you're about to hear, you couldn't make it up if you tried. Let's talk about Origen. Now, he's not just some side character. He's one of the most important early Christian thinkers, period. And guess what? Even he admits that Christianity had secret teachings while trying to deny it at the same time, which is actually pretty hilarious. Here's what went down. There's this pagan philosopher named Celsus, and he's calling out the Christians, saying they frequently call their doctrine a secret system of belief. All right, boom, Celsus sees it. He's saying, yo, these Christian guys are hiding stuff. This isn't just some open religion. It's got levels. So what does Origen do? Well, he tries to clap back like, no, it's not secret at all. Everyone knows about Jesus, his virgin birth, the crucifixion, the resurrection. He's basically saying, come on, Christianity is public knowledge. Everyone knows this stuff.
So, secrets?
No, nothing secret here.
But then, and here's where it gets hilarious, he literally admits there are secret teachings. He says, but that there should be certain doctrines not made known to the multitude, which are revealed after the exoteric, public ones have been taught, is not a peculiarity of Christianity alone, but also of philosophic systems, in which certain truths are exoteric and others esoteric. Okay, so on one hand, he's like, it's not a secret system, that's crazy. But on the other hand, he's basically winking and going, okay, fine, there are secrets, but hey, philosophers do the same thing. Some things are for the masses, the others are for the insiders, so it's fine. And then, get this, he literally pulls out Pythagoras as his example. You know, Mr. A squared plus B squared equals C squared, the triangle guy. But Origen isn't talking about geometry. He's talking about Pythagoras, the cult leader. Because, surprise, Pythagoras didn't just teach math, he ran a literal secret society. Seriously, you ready for this? Initiates in the Pythagorean school had to take vows of silence. They were forbidden to speak for 5 years and took vows of secrecy and even recognized each other with the goddamn pentagram symbol.
So A squared plus B squared equals C squared?
Silence. 5 years of shut up.
So when Origen says some of the hearers of Pythagoras were satisfied with his simple sayings, but others were taught in secret the doctrines not fit for unprepared ears, he's not just casually name-dropping a philosopher, he's comparing Christianity's inner circle to an actual ancient mystery school. Origen's argument is basically this. It's not weird that Christianity had secret teachings. All the secret societies do it, even the triangle guy. Okay, if Christianity started as a secret system with deeper teachings only given to the worthy, what were those secret teachings? And why were they hidden from you? Okay, but what if Origen was the only one who said that? Or maybe he just had too much communion wine when he wrote all that. Get ready for this. Let me introduce you to someone named Bishop Archelaus, who's another official church leader, and this dude doesn't even try to hide it. He straight up says, the Lord spake in parables to those who were incapable of hearing, but to his disciples he explained these parables in private. In other words, Jesus deliberately spoke in riddles to the public, knowing most people just wouldn't get it, and then turned around and gave the real meaning in private to a select few.
Blessed are the faithful in spirit. Okay, guys, here's what I actually meant.
Okay, maybe you're still not buying it. Maybe you're thinking, well, that's just what a couple early church guys said. They could have been confused, corrupt, power hungry, or whatever, right? Well, fair enough. Let's go straight to the source. You got a Bible nearby? Well, crack it open because this is Jesus talking. Let's start with this one. Jesus literally says in Matthew 13:11, to you it has been given to know the secrets of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given. Secrets of the kingdom, given only to a few. It's right there in your Bible. Next up, let's look at John 16:12. I still have many things to say to you, but you cannot bear them now. He's saying I could drop a truth bomb right now, but you're not ready for it. Even his own disciples weren't cleared for the final level yet. But wait, it gets better. Mark 4:33-34 says, he did not say anything to them without using a parable. But when he was alone with his disciples, he explained everything. This is literally Jesus running a two-tiered teaching system. Parables for the crowd, explanations for the inner circle. Sound familiar? Because that's the exact same esoteric versus esoteric setup we've been talking about. Not just from the church fathers, not just from the Freemasons, but from Jesus himself. So let that sink in. Now let's go back to the Freemasons for a minute. We're gonna bring in a heavyweight, Albert Pike. Not only was he a 33rd degree and the sovereign grand commander of the Scottish Rite, but also one of the most famous Freemasons in history. And guess what? Pike straight up confirms that early Christianity had an initiation system just like the pagans, and he spills the tea that'll make you go, no way. Albert Pike writes, in the early days of Christianity, there was an initiation like those of the pagans. Persons were admitted on special conditions only. To arrive at a complete knowledge of the doctrine, they had to pass 3 degrees of instruction. All right, hold on. The early church had degrees, like ranks of initiation? Well, what were those degrees? Albert Pike writes, the initiates were consequently divided into 3 classes. The first, auditors, the second, catechumens, and the third, the faithful. These doctrines and the celebration of the holy sacraments, particularly the Eucharist, were kept with profound secrecy. These mysteries were divided into parts. The first, styled the Mass of the catechumens, the second, the Mass of the faithful. Okay, so according to Pike, they literally called outsiders auditors, listeners who could only listen to the basic teachings, then catechumens, who were those who received instruction before baptism but still not allowed the full secrets, and then finally the faithful, baptized believers who were admitted to the Eucharist and the higher mysteries themselves. So in churches around 150 AD, if you weren't baptized and initiated, you could hang out for the readings, maybe catch the sermon, but when the sacred rites started, the bishop would call out, "Catechumens depart, get out. You're not ready. You don't get to see what happens next." Don't believe Pike? Okay, fine. That's fair. Let's pull in the church fathers themselves. Here's Bishop Archelaus again, and this quote should shake you. "These mysteries, which the church now declares to you, who are transferred from the list of the catechumens, is not her custom to declare to the Gentiles. For we do not declare the mysteries touching the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit to a Gentile. Neither do we speak of the mysteries plainly in presence of the catechumens, but many a time we express ourselves in an occult, secret manner." He's literally saying, even if you are a Christian in training, a catechumen, you're still not allowed to hear the full truth. They're admitting it. Christianity had levels, degrees, secret doctrines, just like the pagan mystery cults that it supposedly replaced. But what were they hiding? What was so powerful that it couldn't be spoken of openly? Well, the answer's coming. But before we get there, if you thought Archelaus might have been just some rogue bishop, hell no. Let's bring in Cyril of Jerusalem, another early bishop, celebrated as a saint, by the way. And if you think Archelaus was just some rogue bishop making up, hell no. Saint Cyril of Jerusalem quotes the exact same thing. And let's crank it up with Saint Basil the Great. And this one just doesn't admit secrecy. He defends it with snobbery so elite it makes the Illuminati look like a book club. Here's what Basil writes. "Of the beliefs and practices which are preserved in the church, some we possess derived from written teaching. Others we have received delivered to us in a mystery." He's literally saying some stuff, yeah, we wrote that down, but the real teachings, those were passed on in a mystery, aka secret, unwritten, and only for the worthy. He continues, "The apostles and fathers who laid down the laws for the church from the beginning, thus guarded the awful dignity of the mysteries in secrecy and silence, for what is bruited abroad random among the common folk is no mystery at all." There it is. The early church fathers deliberately kept the real stuff secret, not because it was false, but because they believed the common folk didn't deserve it. Pretty damn snobby. He says, "This is the reason for our tradition of unwritten precepts and practices. What the uninitiated are not even allowed to look at was hardly likely to be publicly paraded about in written documents." Do you see how insane this is? Basil straight up says there were Christian doctrines so secret they wouldn't even write them on paper. At this point, the mask has fallen off. Okay, but maybe you're still thinking, all right, but how widespread was this? Was it just a few mystic-leaning guys in the early church? Nope, this was the norm. And they didn't just whisper about it, they were bragging about it. Like, look how good we are at hiding this from the masses. So there's this guy named Saint Gregory, Bishop of Constantinople, and here's what he says. "You have heard as much of the mysteries as we are allowed to speak openly in the ears of all. The rest will be communicated to you in private, and that you must retain within yourself. Our mysteries are not to be made known to strangers." Yeah, he's straight up admitting it. We told you what we could safely say in public. The rest, yeah, that's classified. Here's another with Saint Ambrose, Archbishop of Milan. "All the mystery should be kept secret, guarded by faithful silence, lest it should be inconsiderately divulged to the ears of the profane. It is not given to all to contemplate the depths of our mysteries." The profane, you hear that? That's church speak for regular common folk, the uninitiated, the unworthy. But it gets worse. Ambrose, in another text, even goes harder. "Take heed that you do not incautiously reveal the mysteries." Let me ask you this, if Christianity is just about sharing the good news, why were they so damn secretive of sharing the whole story. St. John Chrysostom, another church superstar, known as one of the greatest Christian preachers of all time, here's what he said in one of his homilies. I wish to speak openly of the mysteries, but I dare not, on account of those who are not initiated. They oblige us either to speak in obscure terms or to unveil the things which are secret. Yet I shall endeavor as far as possible to explain myself in disguised terms. Okay, come on, you can't get clearer than that. I want to tell you the truth, but I can't. Too many outsiders are listening. And remember, these guys are not heretics. These are mainstream, sainted, canonized church fathers, and they're all agreeing with each other. Early Christianity operated with secrecy by design. And if they were so obsessed with hiding it, what were they hiding? But if you thought that was wild, wait till you meet the heretics. So we've already seen the Orthodox church fathers admit it over and over again, repeatedly, that there were secret teachings. But guess what? There were so-called heretics who didn't just admit it, they doubled down, and their secrets go way beyond anything you've heard in church. And I want you to realize that just by clicking on this video and sticking around this far, you've proved that you're more open-minded than the average person who just accepts whatever they're told. And this is more than just a channel. We are a revolution of consciousness, making what they tried to bury go viral and reach millions. So hit like and subscribe and share this video to spread it like fire. And if you want to help out more, become a member for free downloads on inner transformation and members only videos. This week's members only video was called This Hidden Goddess Created the Universe, but the church banned her. Also, check out my books. Links are in the description of this video. Now we're getting to the heretics, the stuff you'd get literally burned for. Let me introduce you to the church father Saint Irenaeus, the guy who literally wrote the book on hunting down heretics. Around 180 AD, he wrote a theological hit piece called Adversus Hereses, or Against Heresies, and in it, he goes after a group of Christians who would later be called Gnostics. Now pause, let's clarify something real quick. Gnostic comes from the Greek word gnosis, meaning knowledge, deep, inner, spiritual knowing. So when we say Gnostic Christians, what we're really saying is Christians who know. Know what? The secret teachings, the hidden stuff, the stuff the mainstream church was trying to bury. And here's where it gets absolutely crazy. In Against Heresies, Irenaeus writes, the Gnostic Christians declare that Jesus spoke in a mystery to his disciples and apostles privately, and that they requested and obtained permission to hand down the things thus taught them to others who should be worthy and believing. Yeah, he's saying that the Gnostics claim to have permission to teach the real stuff. The idea of secret teachings from Jesus isn't new. It's being talked about in the 2nd century. It was already a thing. And these heretics, they weren't random nobodies. Some of them led massive Christian communities before the church steamrolled them with orthodoxy. See, the Gnostics believed that Jesus had private teachings, that salvation came through inner awakening, and you, not the priest, held the key to the divine. And for a while, this was Christianity for a lot of people, until the Gnostic Christians were totally wiped out and their texts burned and their teachings demonized. But their secrets survived. We'll get to that, and it's mind-blowing. But it gets even wilder. Remember Albert Pike, the Freemason? Well, he makes a totally jaw-dropping claim that the Eucharist itself was originally part of the pagan mysteries. The celebration of the mysteries of Mithras was also styled a mass, and the ceremonies used were the same. There were found all the sacraments of the Catholic Church, even the bread and wine of the Eucharist, in the pagan mysteries. Basically, he's claiming the most sacred Christian ritual, communion, the bread and the wine, was already present in earlier pagan initiations. And guess what? It wasn't just Albert Pike pointing this out. Even Christian church fathers like Tertullian had to come up with an explanation for why pagan religions looked suspiciously Christian. He actually had to defensively claim that the devil imitated Christian rituals in advance in pagan religions to deceive people. Yeah, basically saying we're not copying them. The devil time traveled and copied us in advance.
No, we didn't steal it. The devil just time traveled and copied us first.
Bro, this guy is nuts.
You can't make this up. But Pike doesn't stop there. He names names. He calls out a very specific Christian sect that took this blending of traditions to a whole new level. The Basilidians, a sect of Christians that arose soon after the time of the apostles, practiced the mysteries with the old Egyptian legend. They symbolized Osiris by the sun, Isis by the moon, and Typhon by Scorpio, and wore crystals bearing these emblems as amulets or talismans to protect them from danger, upon which were also a brilliant star and the serpent. They were copied from the talismans of Persia and Arabia and given to every candidate at his initiation. Okay, what the hell? A Christian sect using Egyptian god symbols, Osiris, Isis, and zodiac signs, Scorpio, with star and serpent amulets in their initiation ceremonies. That's wild. Early Christian mystics basically doing something that looks like a cross between Christian worship and occult astrology amulet magic. Now, to be fair, that's Albert Pike's claim, and we can't say for sure if the Basilidians were actually handing out Egyptian god talismans. But here's the wild part. What we do know about the Basilidians is already mind-blowing. Basilides said that the God of the Old Testament wasn't the true God at all. He was an archon, which is a lesser ignorant being who created the material world as a prison, and that the real God was a higher, hidden, pure light, the source itself, and that salvation didn't come from faith or blind obedience, but through gnosis, secret inner knowledge. You had to know the truth, not just believe like a sheep. And remember, that was only one sect among many. The early Christian landscape was way stranger and more diverse than most people realize. And you know what? Even one of the greatest saints of the church kind of admitted that Christianity wasn't a brand new thing, but a rebranding of something older.
The true religion already existed before Christ.
Wait, what?
Branding update, guys.
Saint Augustine, one of the most revered Christian theologians, made this statement. What is now called the Christian religion existed among the ancients and was not absent from the human race until Christ came, from which time the true religion, which existed already, began to be called Christian. Okay, hold on. Father Augustine, what did you just say? The true religion already existed before Christ and only then got called Christian? That implies Christianity, at its core truth, is ancient, existing maybe since the dawn of humanity. That's something that you would expect a mystic to say, not a Christian. Then Albert Pike drops this bombshell. They all claim to possess a secret doctrine coming to them directly from Jesus Christ, different from that of the Gospels and the epistles, and superior to those communications, which in their eyes were merely exoteric. Public. This secret doctrine they did not communicate to everyone, and among the extensive sects of the Basilidians, hardly 1 in 1,000 knew it, as we learn from Irenaeus. We know the name of only the highest class of their initiates. They were styled elect, or ilus, and strangers to the world. All right, so at this point you might be asking, well, why did they need to hide anything? If it's the truth, shouldn't it be shared openly with everyone? Exactly, but here's the thing. Power often corrupts, and once the church started gaining power, and I mean real power, wealth, land, political pull, inquisitions, it started actively suppressing and even destroying evidence of secret teachings. What I really want to emphasize is this hidden side of Christianity isn't just speculation, it's historical fact. In addition to the quotes I gave you, in 1945, a collection of ancient texts were found in Nag Hammadi, Egypt, considered heretical by the church, and what they revealed is absolutely insane. These early Christian heretical writings paint a very different picture of what Christianity could have been. Instead of focusing on dogma, these texts are about awakening, knowledge, enlightenment, and realizing the divine spark inside you. For them, the real story of Jesus was never about worshiping a crucified guy. It was about something a lot more dangerous, becoming him. So what happened? J.D. Buck writes, the mystery of Christ received a new interpretation after the First Nicene Council, and as the church sought dominion, it lost the great secret, and since then has denied that it ever existed, and done all in its power to obliterate all its records and monuments. So according to Buck, they basically rebranded Christianity from a mystery-initiated religion into a dogmatic authoritarian religion. In the process, they either either lost the great secret or chucked it into the bonfire, like no one can know humans have divine potential. And ever since, they've gaslit the world into thinking it never existed. So that's what Buck claims, but it matches what we see historically. Gnostic gospels burned, Gnostic teachers denounced. Any mention of secret doctrines in official circles gradually disappears, leaving only hints in the writings of mystics and ancient texts the church really hopes that you never Google. And here's what's wild. Every time we peel back the layers and peek into the secret teachings, we see the idea that Christ might not just be a guy at all. So if that's true, then the original question, remember the one we started with, did Jesus actually exist, evolves into something way more interesting. What is Christ really? A person? A principle? A state of consciousness? A cosmic force that just so happens to be buried under 2 millennia of religious PR spin? Keep that question in mind because it has everything to do with what you really are. Because now what we're about to break into is one of the most forbidden files in Christ's hidden archives, the Gospel of Thomas. So are you ready to hear from possibly the closest thing to Jesus's uncensored wisdom? Here we go. The Gospel of Thomas isn't a story of Christ's life. It's a list of 114 rapid-fire secret sayings attributed to Jesus, and the very first line is fire. These are the secret sayings that the living Jesus spoke, and he said whoever discovers the interpretation of these sayings will never die. Wait, living Jesus? What the hell does that mean? Is this just referring to a belief in the resurrection, or is it something a lot more shocking? And what's with the secret sayings? And if you want a hint at how mind-blowing these secret sayings were, in the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus takes Thomas aside and tells him 3 secrets. When Thomas goes back, the other disciples say, "Hey, what the hell did Jesus tell you?" And Thomas said to them, "If I tell you one of the sayings he spoke to me, you will pick up rocks and stone me, and fire will come from the rocks and devour you." Yeah, so we're talking some pretty serious stuff here. Now, the Gospel of Thomas was branded as Gnostic heresy, which is church speak for, we hate this thing because it says you don't need us. So they tossed it out and lit it on fire. Luckily, it got buried and preserved for 600 years, and we have it now. So what did the Gospel of Thomas actually say that made the church freak out? Well, don't take my word for what it says. Let's let a historian of early Christianity, Marco Marina, PhD, explain it. He writes, "Why does the author call him the living Jesus? Jesus of Nazareth was long gone when the Gospel of Thomas was composed." Okay, so why is he called the living Jesus in the Gospel of Thomas? Well, in the Gospel, we get a massive hint. In it, Jesus says, "Take heed of the living one while you are alive, lest you die and seek to see him and be unable to do so." In other words, he's saying, don't wait till you're dead to find Christ. This gospel explicitly criticizes the idea of looking for Jesus in the past. If you want to meet the living Jesus, you got to do it now while you're alive. Okay, but what does that really mean? Marco continues, according to the Gospel of Thomas, the living Jesus is the voice that speaks to you right now. You can find him in the sayings of this book. Furthermore, his voice lies behind all creation. All right, stop and rewind, because Jesus isn't just some long dead preacher with a nice beard and sandals. He's speaking to you right now in the Gospel of Thomas, in the inner voice in your head, in this video you're watching now. According to Thomas, the living Jesus is not in the past, he's right now. But this isn't your typical find Jesus in your heart Sunday school sermon. In the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus says, "It is I who am the light which is above them all. It's I who am the all. From me did the all come forth, and unto me did the all extend. Split a piece of wood, and I am there. Lift the stone, and you will find me there." It's basically saying Christ is literally everywhere and everything, the light within all things, the fundamental essence of the universe.
Well, damn, he wasn't kidding.
Marco continues, the Gospel of St. Thomas presents a high view of Jesus' divinity. He is the origin and goal of the entire creation. He is the underlying cause and structure of the cosmos. Jesus is saying, I'm the blueprint of reality, the animating principle of matter. You want to find me? Don't look to Jerusalem in 30 AD. Look at everything around you. And look in the mirror. Marco says, furthermore, you won't find Jesus by looking back to a man who lived a long time ago. For Thomas, the other gospels missed the whole point when they dwell on Jesus's life, career, and death. This is huge. Thomas depicts Jesus not as a distant historical figure to worship, but as a reality right now. The voice speaking to you in this moment. A voice that's behind all creation.
Psst, wrong direction. I'm inside you. Bro, what?
In Thomas, Jesus even says, the kingdom of heaven isn't in the sky, rather the kingdom is inside of you and outside of you. And guess what? When Jesus says he's the light within all things, that's not exclusive to him. That includes you. In the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus said, if they say to you, where have you come from? Say to them, we have come from the light, from the place where the light came into being by itself, established itself, and appeared in their image. If they say to you, is it you? Say, we are its children, and we are the chosen of the living Father. Jesus is saying, you are that light too, just like him.
Jesus said you are the light.
Stop telling people that. We can't monetize it.
Thomas's Jesus never says, worship me or believe in my literal resurrection or anything like that. He's teaching, not making it about himself. In fact, in Thomas, Jesus says, whoever drinks from my mouth will become like me. I myself shall become that person, and the hidden things will be revealed to him. Yeah, that means if you truly receive Jesus's teachings, drink from his mouth, you and he become one and the same. You have the Christ within and can literally become Christ. And this isn't just in the Gospel of Thomas either. The early Christian Gnostic groups, all in their own way, emphasized finding the divine within and becoming Christ and one with God. In another hidden gospel, the Gospel of Philip, it says that when someone understands the hidden message, that person is no longer a Christian, but a Christ. I mean, come on! But if that wasn't clear enough for you, the Gospel of Philip shouts it in your face that you, me, any human, can become Christ and God. You saw the Spirit, you became Spirit. You saw Christ, you became Christ. You saw the Father, you will become Father. In other words, understand the secrets and you transform into God. And did you know Jesus himself even hints at this in the Bible? In John 10:34, he says, is it not written in your law, I have said you are gods? That's in your actual Bible. But after the Roman Empire adopted Christianity, the church gained the means to enforce one version of the religion. And if you didn't fall in line, congrats, you're now a heretic. Enjoy exile or execution.
We can't let people know they are God.
Yeah, that kills our subscription model.
The church basically said, you like Thomas? Well, that's cute. We're going with Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And if you don't, yeah, we'll kill you. All right, so after everything we've dug up, we can finally get to the real question. Was Jesus real? Is Christianity built on a lie? Well, J.D. Buck actually answers that himself, and his answer is way more powerful than the church would ever dare admit. Let's unpack this now because it's the mic drop. Remember J.D. Buck at the beginning asked the question, is Christianity a designed lie, totally made up by people in power? Buck has an answer. Remember, this isn't your average guy in a basement with a conspiracy podcast. Buck was a 33rd degree Mason. That's the top of the pyramid, literally. And here's what he had to say. Tear every shred of history from the life of the Christ today and prove beyond all controversy that he never existed, and humanity, from its heart of hearts, would create him again tomorrow and justify the creation by every intuition of the human soul. He's saying that even if Jesus never existed, even if it was all bull and made up, we'd invent him all over again by Tuesday. Why? Because what the figure of Christ represents resonates with something deep in the human soul. In other words, the Christ archetype, the idea of love, transcendence, and enlightenment is something we all have within. If it hadn't been Jesus of Nazareth, it would have been someone else or many others. The name and details can change. Krishna, Buddha, Osiris, pick your savior. But the core pattern is real and eternal, and it's in all of us. Okay, but did Jesus actually exist? Buck says the historical contention might be given up, ignored, and the whole character, genius, and mission of Jesus, the Christ, be nonetheless real, beneficent, and eternal, with all of its human and dramatic episodes, Explain it as you will, it can never be explained away. The character remains, and whether historical or ideal, it is real and eternal. This is huge. Buck's answer is, it doesn't matter. He's saying, who cares? You're missing the point. Whether Jesus was a historical person or not, what he represents is what is real and eternal. The Christ idea is what matters, because that idea is eternal and not bound to one time, place, or person. Christ, which means the anointed one, is the principle of divinity in humanity. God in man, as in humanity. Personally, I believe a historical guy that we refer to as Jesus probably existed, but that he didn't do all the miracles attributed to him. Those are symbolic, but ultimately doesn't matter, because the real truth is that Christ was trying to tell us that God and man aren't separate, that the divine lives in us, and that by awakening to that, we achieve real salvation, aka enlightenment. Jesus, the man, accessed the Christ pattern within so well that he became the Christ, and people later said he was God. But rather than saying only Jesus can be that, the secret teaching is we can all be that, because the Christ pattern is in all of us as potential. That's the great secret. Jesus wasn't preaching, I'm the only magical being and you're all worms. He called people the light of the world in Matthew. And he says he is the light of the world in John. Interesting parallel. He also said, the works I do, you will do also, and greater works than these. In the Bible itself, Jesus is literally saying you can be more powerful than him. I mean, hello, wake the up. The religious need to read their damn Bibles. It's like hints of the secret slip through even in the canonical texts themselves. Think about how insane these facts are. The church hid the very message that could liberate humanity and make each person realize their divine potential. I mean, what the hell? Why aren't people more outraged, or at least intensely curious about this? Why isn't this front page news or a viral trending topic every day? Oh, I know why. Because of all the distractions. But it should be. Everyone should be talking about this. And it's the answer to all our problems. And guess what? Everything we've learned reveals a shocking secret about the second coming of Christ. And that is that it's happening right now. That's why in the Bible, when the religious leaders ask when the kingdom of heaven is coming, Jesus says, the kingdom of God does not come with signs to be observed or with visible display, nor will people say, look, here it is, or see, it is there. For behold, the kingdom of God is within you. I mean, come on, how much clearer can you get? That's in the damn Bible. The kingdom of heaven isn't a place that can be seen, it's a state within. Because the second coming of Christ isn't about a guy named Jesus teleporting down from a cloud. It's the occurrence of the Christ pattern being activated in us, the inner realization that we are all gods. So does Christ actually exist? Yeah, he exists right now. In you, in me, in all of us, not as a flesh and blood person, but as your Christ consciousness, the potential flickering in your eyes as you understand these words right now. As you understand what I'm saying and everything begins to click, that inner Christ is activating in you now. So, is Christianity a lie? Christianity as we know it is a power structure that lies and conceals. Yeah, Christianity has become a false light because it separates you from your divinity. It says you aren't divine, hence it becomes a system of darkness, pretending that it's light. But, and this is a huge but, the core truth that Christ represents is not a lie, because it's the truth that we are all at our core divine. But isn't that blasphemy? No, what's blasphemous is Christianity itself, because it denies your divinity. And this community, this channel, we're done playing small. We're not here to argue dogma. We're here to ignite. We're here to take that inner spark and turn it into a goddamn wildfire of awareness. We're here to make what was buried go viral. And if you're watching this, you're not average. You're a seeker that has the guts to question. You're the kind of person who doesn't wait for permission to wake up. That matters. You matter. Remember in the beginning of this video, I said Jesus would have been the one handing you the match? In Luke, Jesus says, I have come to cast fire upon the earth, and how I wish that it were already kindled. Jesus wanted a total transformation of the world. Fire is all about burning down the old so the new can rise like a phoenix. Metaphorically, of course. And in the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus doubles down, I have thrown fire on the world. Look, I watch until it blazes. This isn't a channel, it's a wildfire. And the second coming is now. It's you, it's me, it's all of us who look within and realize our divinity and then act like it. No more waiting for the sky to crack open. We are the crack in the sky. We are the lightning flash. We are the true light bringers. And that's why you can be part of spreading this truth. Hell, you're part of it now just by listening. If you're watching this, you're likely someone who's already stepped outside the box in some way. Everyone else would have clicked off a long time ago. And that's something to be proud of because you're smart, capable, and you're not alone. There's a whole community of awakened people growing every day right here, right now. Consider this video one meetup of that community, because we're not collecting followers, we're activating Christs, ordinary people who refuse to be ordinary anymore. So wake the hell up, flip the switch, be the return, and let's light up the world. But there's way more to this story. Remember how Albert Pike mentioned the Basilidian Christians and their secret rituals? But what did they actually teach? I did a video all about their secret god called Abraxas that's said to be more powerful than God and the devil. Check it out right now. It'll change the way you see everything.